Hello everyone, how's it going? I hope everyone is having a fantastic week. Man, I got a lot of stuff to share. I am super excited. I don't know where to begin. I think we're going to start off with Cities of Venus. So Cities of Venus, last we chatted, I was going through the 3D models that we had for the mechs. I believe I showed these guys, which I signed off on when I was at Origins. On the first player marker, signed off on that one. I asked for one tiny tweak on this particular guy. So I've got a 3D print, which you can't see the detail on, but trust me, it'll be as detailed as this, plus ink washed. And the two things I wanted to change was I found that when I put the dye in this guy's back, it went a little bit deeper than I wanted. And then likewise, when the first player guy went in, they put this like little ledge. I don't know if you can see a little ledge there in the hole that the meeple goes into. And what that happened is when I put the meeple in, he would kind of just fall out. So I asked them to make that hole a little bit deeper by 1 millimeter. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot. And then bring this backpack up by 1 millimeter so that the dye sits a little bit better in the back. So just received this today. And now this is how the dye fits in the back, which I think makes it easier to take in and out. And then likewise, the dude fits in his little compartment at the front. So signing off on this tonight. Very happy with where we landed. We're now moving towards molds. So that's a big step for us. This is the one thing you really want to make sure you got everything right before you sign off. And it's right. So we're going to sign off and get going on that. The next thing we're working on is I've been working on, see if I can pull up on my screen here, a couple things. As we've kind of been talking about kind of expanding the story out, we put a lot of thought behind how does the story kind of connect with the sequel, the prequel, and things like that. And I created an infographic which walks you through the timeline that I thought was kind of cool. And there's one thing we're in the middle of discussing. I met someone at Origins who had a really, really cool game, and I thought it would fit very well into our story. So I had some good chats, and we've talked it through, and there's an off route to potentially license. So we'll see where we land on that, but I'll talk a little bit about what that will kind of look like in the overall scheme of things. So let me just add a source here. Image. Add source. Call this infographic. Add source. And oh, I can't do that way. Crap. Maybe I can share my screen. It's a really compelling video here while I look at my screen. Well, let's see here. This is something I really want to show you because it looks really cool. A new source. Okay, I'll try this infographic, see if this comes up. This got me super excited because it really kind of helps encapsulate what I am trying to do with this whole story. So let's see here. Safari preview. There we go. Okay. So let's move this over here. Right in front of my face. Okay. So let's start off at the beginning. We've got, I think I'm going to, there we are. A little bit easier to see me that way. Okay. So you have the Cities of Venus, which kind of falls in the middle here. And the time period for Cities of Venus is kind of 2202 to 2222. So main story happens during 2222. There's an event that happens on Earth that forces us to lose contact. We don't know why, and that's kind of triggers the whole events of the game. That is another game we're working on right now called Time Splicers, where there's an AI that's taken over on Earth, and you are agents kind of going through time trying to stop the AI from taking over, the singularity from happening. And so that's the event that happens, and that game will be tied to this one. And then in 2202, which is kind of like 20 years before the main game, is the solo mode of Cities of Venus, where there's a catastrophe on one of the cities. There's a sole survivor, and that person has to get the city back up and functioning and keep it functioning until help arrives from Earth. So that's how those two stories fall in together. The prequel to that, we have Stephen Hill is working on, which is Architects of Venus. And what I've put in here as well, if I can grab the frame. Let me grab the frame. There. Is kind of, you can see underneath we have, and I'm not sure if you can see on the screen here, but the type of game. So the game we're going to have as a prequel will be this Roll and Write. The intent is that this will launch next year. This is called Cities of Venus Architects. Originally, the kind of nomenclature it came up with was I was going to do like Architects of Venus, Cities of Venus, Survivors of Venus. But we found with the design of the logo of Cities of Venus, we kind of really had to kind of hack it and really modify it to kind of make it fit these different lengths of words. So we made a decision that we're going to go with Cities of Venus as the core brand, and then a sub-brand will be the type of game that we're playing. So Cities of Venus, Architects, Cities of Venus, Survivors, and so forth. So Architects happens about 100 years before the events of Cities of Venus. That's when you are doing this roll and write. You're trying to plan out the different departments in the city. Again, super, super cool. Very excited about that. We move into Survivors. Survivors is a polyomino dice drafting game, and it's coming along very, very nicely. We were playtesting that at Origins. It was well received. A couple tweaks we're making just on the very, very end kind of roll-off condition. Been talking with some of my colleagues on this. It works, but we want to work exceptionally well. And by working exceptionally well, right now, people pretty much are going to go for sixes in that final kind of roll off. And what we want is to be more like a Favor the Pharaoh type scenario where you're locking in the kind of runs that you can get, or the of a kinds you can get. So maybe 3 of a kind, or like 4 3s or 5 4s or something like that. That is a little more compelling when you're competing against somebody, because then you know that, hey, I've got 4 5s, but maybe he's going to get 5 5s, or maybe that person is going to get 5 3s, and they're still going to beat me because they got one more of a kind than I do. So that's the core mechanic on that game. It is the polyomino side of it works well. The engineers work great. It's just one little finesse we're fixing at the end, and then I think she's ready to start playtesting more, quite frankly. But what I want to get is some actual kind of pre-production kind of copies made so that it presents very nicely on a table, start commissioning the artwork and so forth. So that's the next step there once we just get that final polish. And then as I was talking about, is we got this gentleman we met, Kevin Levy, who's got this game Red Rain Rising. It's super cool. It's a versus, so it's best described as a skirmish, I would say, where you're able to build your ship or your city, floating city, and add weaponry to it, and you're trying to mine Mars to get water so that you can escape. And there's this arc that's circling around the planet where you've got technology that's falling to the surface, and you're trying to grab it, and it's costing you water to get, and so forth. Mechanically, this game fits very well in our narrative. Like it will be skinned very, very easily into the world of Cities of Venus. So instead of Mars, it'll be Venus. Instead of water, it'll be V-Night. And the tech and stuff coming from an ARC will come from the International Innovation Station. Like literally everything about our game fits very well with the mechanics of this game. And we're very excited about it. He's going over the contract as we speak. And fingers crossed, we're both aligned on bringing him into the family. But this will be in 2025, the fall of 2025, which we'll call, I guess essentially it'd be like volume 3 or 4. It depends on if we call Architects as a prequel, if it's a volume or not. But certainly it'd be like the 4th or 5th kind of game in the story. And this is something I talked about on previous lives, was that we really want to build out the story. We want to build out Cities of Venus and really make this big franchise and continue to add to it. And certainly I think what we've got so far is really, really exciting. So that's Cities of Venus and the updates on where we're at with the molds. We're still hammering our way through the cards and the innovations and the upgrades. I'm going to do another live probably in about 2 weeks where I'll start talking about some of the new things we've added through inspiration through our backers. We tried to incorporate as many ideas as we could, and practically all of them, quite frankly. And so I want to start showcasing those as we get them. Probably start off with like AI art at the beginning to kind of show here's kind of what the power is. And then as we get the proper art finished with Daniel Kuna, then we'll showcase some of those art pieces along the way too, so you guys can follow that journey. Okay, let me get this thing off the screen. Infographic. And now I want to talk about something else. Okay. I get so excited. So I've been working on this other thing behind the scenes. Some of you may or may not know about Thanks But No Thanks. I know this is our very, very first game we ever did. First Kickstarter. So some of you watching may have backed this game on Kickstarter or maybe purchased it at retail or off our website. But it's a game I am probably still most proud of. It is the one that got me started down this path. It's the game that has been in existence the longest. This game is almost 25 years old, the initial concept. And we're going to come with a volume 2. And that's coming in this fall, hopefully. And so we're working on that right now. The Kickstarter page we're building out. And there's some cool things that we're upgrading. I'm going to take you through those. Really what I wanted to do was, I've learned so much between when I started and to where we are today, again, over these 5 years, that if I was to launch this game again, if I had a chance to do it all over again, I would do it very differently. So we're going to do that. We're going to do it all over again. And we're going to do it differently. One of the things, we're going to keep the cover. We're going to modify it slightly. This cannon, I'd like to have the peek out through the letters here, which I think would be kind of cool. We're going to add the sub heading Full Carnage, will be kind of what the second edition is called. The board, I really stuck to my guns when I did this board when we first launched. And again, I would never do this again. But at the time, I did it because I wanted to stay true to what we had created, 25 years earlier. But it was this kind of checkerboard feel and vibe to it. And while the game is very fun, I mean, this game is a blast. On the table doesn't present as well as it could with this kind of checkerboard pattern. So clearly I know people expect in terms of production value of things to be kind of top notch, and that's what we're looking to bring to this game as well, like we've done with some of the recent titles we've had. So first and foremost, we are doing, let me see if this is the one. That's a 3-player. All right, so one side of the board is going to be a desert landscape. We still need the light dots of the squares, so you literally know where you're moving. And we do have these outlines around your different territories, because there's certain objectives that if you can get all your people into someone else's territory and stay there, you can get some early win victories and conditions and things like that. This kind of opaque blue spot in the center, that represents a UN. If you can hold that spot for 4 turns, if you have that mission, that's an instant win. Still have our kill counters and things around the side, but that's kind of what the board's going to look like, which I think looks way better. Then when you flip the board over, you will get this other side, which is kind of this rolling fields World War II kind of vibe to the map. And you'll notice that we used hexes instead of using squares on this particular board. And the reason we did that was we found the 3-player version on the prior board, you had to do this kind of MacGyvered, 2 people in 2 corners and 1 person kind of moving up a bit and being in the center to kind of be equidistant, but it was never truly equidistant. But now we have the hexes, we truly have equidistance between the 3 different players that there's 3 players playing. This also serves as a solo mission. So we've added a solo mission, defend the flag, defend the tower, to this game. which plays really well. I've yet to win, but I know winning is possible, but it's very, very difficult. And you essentially have the three other armies just coming at you wave after wave, and you're trying to defend your flags before they get destroyed, or your tank's getting destroyed, and it's tough, but it's a lot of fun. So 3-player, 1-player, and then on the desert will be the 2-player, 4-player. We also updated the cards. I don't know why I thought this. I feel kind of dumb now looking back, because I had actually done printing before, but all of our cards I had the same backs on. So we have secret missions and we have bonus powers. And on the first game, you have to kind of sort through and pull out which ones are your missions and which ones are your bonus powers. And my thinking at the time was that, well, it'd just be cheaper to have just the same image on all the backs. It is not any cheaper. You could have every back could be a completely different design if you want. It doesn't change the cost at all. It's all based on sheet size. But the other thing I was thinking at the time was, well, then if somebody keeps looking at their card, maybe you're not sure if they're looking at their power or their mission. I don't think that matters. And I think for the coolness factor, it's better for design that for the weapons, we move to kind of like a weapons case is the back. So you've got your secret missions now in your top secret envelopes, and then you've got your weapons cases, and then on the back of the weapons case, it looks like you're looking into a weapons case, and it tells you what your one-time use card is for that. So backs of the cards are different for the powers and the missions, which I think again presents way better on the table. The other thing we're changing that I really want to do in the first wave, we just couldn't afford it based on our backer levels, and I think we'll do much better this time, is we have these little barriers. So they're basically just big, massive meeples, right? They're made of wood, and these fit kind of on the board, and these are things you can't go through. You have to go around them. You can't shoot through them, you can't move through them. But I thought it'd be really cool if instead of these, we had 3-dimensional hedgehogs. Kind of like you see going up the beach in Saving Private Ryan. And this I was hoping to show like a couple weeks ago, but we had to go through different iterations. So here's a smaller version. They might look the same on camera actually, but this one, the base on this one is, this one here is much, much smaller. And on the table, it didn't kind of fit as nice, where this one here fits the dimensions of that block. So, and that fits exactly the squares and octagons on the board. So that, again, you have to go around them, can't shoot through them, but they look super cool on the table. Still sticking with the tanks that we had, which are these guys here. So we kept the molds from the last production run. I'm pretty happy with these guys. Again, I've had a lot of people say, hey, would you do different tanks for the different factions? I don't think I would do that. The only thing I said I would do is probably 5 different tanks. Could be something that'd be interesting to do, because there is one mission that's based on having the same tank kill, like, I think take out 3 bases or take out 4 tanks. And there's an honor rule there, and you have to kind of keep track of that one tank. So it'd be much easier if they had different markings on them at the very least. But I think that, all players can, I mean, they vary in color. If you're the blue tanks, you're the red tanks. I don't think we need to go that kind of different. And then you're talking mold cost if we do that. I mean, mold costs are not cheap. But I think that looks cool. And you have the tanks, and then we got the little barriers beside it. The flags, I'm debating, I was thinking about doing like airplane hangars, where right now we have these flags. And I don't know. I have a 3D design already made for the bases. They look like airplane hangars. I kind of like the flags because they're just easy to grab and pull off the table, and they kind of stand up very well. I'm going to play that through. I'm going to have to see. Again, we're talking another mold. If we add in another design, but the mold could be kind of cool. The only kicker is I have to then get those 3D printed, which I can do, but then I have to make sure they're all painted the right colors. So then when we do our photography, everything looks just cool. Imagine these once they're actually painted. Like you get some like kind of rust colored paint on that, and then like actual dirt and sand on the bottom. I mean, you can even glue some sand on the bottom. These would look really, really cool on the table. I think they're going to turn out well. I've got 3 of them here, so I'm going to start doing some table shots and get an idea of what this looks like. And we're going to keep building out that Kickstarter page and hopefully launch a preview link sometime in the next, I think 2-3 weeks is fair. And then, so we're in July. Advertising then would kick in probably August, September, and the plan right now is probably launch first week of November. What's kind of cool about that is it would literally be like 5 years to the day that we launched the first campaign. I think that'd be kind of cool to launch at the exact same time and really have like a true comparison before and after. But that's where we're at, my friends. Shoot me notes. I'd love to get your thoughts on things that you want updates on. We are moving along very, very fast. And these things get me excited, as you know. So I can't wait to share the news. We're holding off on our monthly update newsletter that'll go out because, again, I want to make sure I hear back from Kevin if he's in or out. And I hope he's in because that'll be a great announcement to kind of announce that. And, again, announce that whole map that I've just showed a few moments ago of the timeline for Cities of Venus in the franchise. So. Anyway, I hope you all are having a great week. Keep gaming, keep having fun, and we will talk soon. Cheers. This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.